Where AI starts to really get helpful to me is a lot of people that I talk to want to just have their VA do the bookkeeping or their EA do the bookkeeping. Not a bookkeeper, not an accountant, but just, hey, I have somebody in house that has extra time. I want them to do bookkeeping. Well, Intuit Assist can really help them because it could literally walk your VA through every single step that needs to be taken in your particular business based on your data that has to be done so that you know you're.
Hey, I'm Pam Prior, and this is the Cash Flow Podcast. We're going to talk about everything related to money in your business. Without further ado, let's hop right in.
And welcome back to Cash Flow. We're in a new location, but we're going to have the normal pattern for you. For the brew today, we're cracking open a really good double IPA called Hazy double IPA. And then the rest of the show is all about AI. And I actually have a guest with us today for this segment of the show, which is very unusual, but you are going to love it. We're diving into an AI conference that blew away all AI conferences you've ever heard about yet. And then we're going to dive into AI as your bookkeeper and CFO. So I'm going to start to talk to you about how you can replace me in your business. And my favorite part of the show, as you well know, is the brew part. And we are playing with our campsite Hazy double IPA. We have my favorite IPA glass. Let's see what we got here. And I'll tell you a little bit about this. I like it right away before I even taste it because they are 29 miles away from us. Oh, I love that sound. And even more than that, they have a tasting room. And I saw when we signed up for their newsletter that they also have events throughout the year. So I love that when a brewery creates the tasting room, creates a whole ambiance and a tribe around their beer, because y'all know I'm all about tribes. So let's take a look at this one. First of all, it's powerful. So when we get to AI, we may need AI to translate it, but the ABV on this one is 8.8%. We have a 16 ouncer here. My producer tells me I don't have to drink the whole glass when I demo this. I don't understand, but we'll deal with that another day. But the taste that they describe that it has is gooseberries with tangerine citrus overtone. It really is hazy. That's the first thing I'm seeing. I cannot see Francis through this. I can't see my puppy dog through this. So let's see what happens. Definitely getting the citrus and tangerine. I'm almost afraid it's going to be too fruity or citrusy. And it is very citrusy, but it's oddly to me, I get grapefruit a little bit more than tangerine. So maybe it ends with grapefruit. It's got a nice, I don't usually like fruity beers. What's interesting about this is it's got the fruity, citrusy, not like cherries and berries, but citrus on the front when it first comes in. That stays on the tip of your tongue. But then you feel that IPA kind of nuttiness or crunchiness, I call it. It's just not a smooth beer. That's probably why I like it. And you feel that come over it, and it really makes a nice blend. So it's even though that citrus is still staying there, it really blends nicely with the hops. I would have expected when I tasted this to go, oh, that's a little too much kind of citrusy taste. But it's not classic like orange, and it's not even classic tangerine or grapefruit. I don't know if tangerine is classic. Maybe that's what I'm tasting is the tangerine. But that is really good. So what do I give it on the PB KPI, Pam's Beer KPI? We have a scale of 1 to 10. I always have to ask. I forget whether it's 1 to 5 or 1 to 10. Let me just do this one more time. It's interesting. Can I give it 2 scores, Francis?
Yes, permission granted.
Permission granted. It's got a initially on the mouth score, which I'm going to give a 5. It's got a finish score of an 8, 7 to 8. So I'll give it on average then a 6.5, 6.5 on our PB KPI scale. So go grab yourself a campsite Hazy Double India Pale Ale. Beware because of its 8.8% alcohol. But enjoy it. I really kind of like it. I would get this again. That's the true test. See you on our next segment where we're going to talk about AI. All right, I am incredibly excited because today in the What's News section, we're talking about what's on everybody's agenda. And if it's not, it should be, which is AI, artificial intelligence. And I have as my guest, my longtime producer, director, right-hand person when it comes to anything related to social media, Francis Plata.
Hello.
And Francis, you just attended the AI Bot Summit by Perry Belcher.
I did.
Perry is the guy who runs the Ignite Mastermind, and he's pretty well known in a lot of circles as
Uncle Perry.
Uncle Perry. He's sort of ahead of the curve on everything, and certainly AI is at the front of the curve. But the first question I have is, what is the difference between AI and an AI bot? Like, I have no idea. That's a really good question.
So AI bots are essentially little AIs that you can build that make processes faster when you're using AI. So AI, for instance, would be Chat.GPT or Claude or Gemini by Google or formerly Bard.
And these are the things we're used to where we go in and say, hey, write me an article about this based on my old blog posts. And okay.
Exactly. Now, a bot, what you would do with a bot is you can train a bot to do a specialized task. So inside of ChatGPT 4, what you might see if you use a premium account is the storefront or the marketplace, and everything that's in there is a bot that somebody has created to do a task. So there's Humanizer Pro, or there's one, Perry has a bunch of his own that he's specifically tailored to either emulate his voice or to do a specific task, like writing an email or
it's like a user interface almost.
Exactly.
So instead of having to like buy AI and generate stuff myself, I could go, I'm making this up, but I want to learn how to screw in a light bulb for my house, which has low ceilings or high ceilings. And here's my personality. Here are my physical traits. Here are the supplies I have. And you create a little bot around that. Is that?
Kind of. I would, let's use the example of an email or something along those lines, right? Let's say you go into your email and you write your email and you do all of that just, step by step by step, right? What a bot could do is a bot could take your instructions of write this email explaining this and do that for you. So
An automated workflow.
it's essentially an automation.
So here's the advantage of interviewing your producer. He can actually cut that whole part where I asked a very stupid question. A good question.
There are no stupid questions in AI. I will say that. There is no stupid question.
And do you teach the bot some things other than just work instructions? Like is it a learning bot?
Yeah. So you can go very complex when you're training a bot, or you can go a little on the simpler side. With the complex side, you can go as detailed as creating the person that you're tailoring this email to, and you can create an avatar for that person and add that into the bot. You can create an avatar for yourself and add that into the bot, and it'll add this information. And what that information does is it's the first resource that it'll pull from your search. So let's say you're doing your emails. Yes, it has access to all of this, right? You're asking this one thing and it has access to all of this. But if you train it on these things, it will go there first, and that uses the guideline.
So let me ask you a question. For example, email is one of those things that's a massive hassle for almost all of us.
Yeah.
It's just so many emails. And we have some things like spam and junk, but they never work right. They spam out the wrong ones. They keep the right one. They keep the junk. Can you write a bot to be your email assistant?
I know that there have people that have done this. Yes. I haven't done this before, and I don't know how intricate you would have to go, because with that, yes, you can do that, but it requires API integration and different.
Okay, so it's a little more complicated.
Yeah, and that's where it becomes a little bit more of a complex, setup. But when you're doing some simpler tasks like writing the emails or, editing or proofing, things along those lines, you can really, really tailor those in to emulate your exact style.
Sense of humor, grammar, whatever,
sarcasm, all of that.
Unbelievable.
It's unreal.
Can it listen to me on video and create a bot from that?
You could train it to do that. Yeah.
Wow.
The thing with the bots is you can train it to do essentially whatever you can imagine. As long as you can prompt it to do it. AI is set up to only do some stuff, so it does take a little bit of extra tailoring here and there. But if you ask it the right questions, it'll almost always give you what you're.
I'm going to officially call these minions from now on. They aren't AI bots. They are now minions.
I
So
like
you
it.
basically program every minion to do something different and create a household of minions.
Yeah, I don't know if they would like that, but yeah, you could do that.
So what is the biggest takeaway you have? Like both like little takeaway, like, oh, here's a little thing I could do tomorrow. But also what's your biggest big takeaway? Like, wow, this was a game changer.
The conference was eye-opening on a lot of different levels. Technology-wise, the future is here would be my takeaway.
Wow.
Like some of the stuff that we saw demos of are glasses with screens embedded in them that you can ask a question to and it can see what you're looking at. And let's say you're at the grocery store and you want to know how many net calories this package of raspberries might have per serving. It'll tell you that. You could sit and look at a problem that you might be having with your car and ask it to kind of figure out, what am I looking at? What is this car? What pieces am I looking at? It'll do that.
Wow.
That's the future to me. When I was a kid, we would see stuff on TV and Iron Man is able to pull
Yeah.
up these things with just his hands or just see,
Yeah.
what he wants to through his glasses. And that was kind of the closest that I've ever been to that in real life.
Did you get to try them on?
No.
Oh.
No. Oh, I would have done anything to try those on.
Like project an image up there so you could see.
No. So it was all on the screen and we just saw a screen demo. It's like basically a video demo. Yeah. But man,
Darn, that would have been cool.
I know. I would have given my left arm to try those on.
All right, so that's a big one. Now, how about kind of holistically? Like, there's this whole debate going on. I just listened to my friends on Bankless talk about, do we, there's this, we need to put the brakes on AI group, and there's the we need to accelerate AI.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of overlap with crypto and the DeFi world and all that right now. They're all kind of getting lumped into this same category. But what would you say is kind of the biggest, when you look forward even only 5 years, what are some things you see happening differently based on what you learned at this conference?
That's a really, really good question. And I don't know if this counts as an answer, but what's so interesting about artificial intelligence is, you and I were at a conference just a few months ago where we were experiencing some of what was possible firsthand. And 6 months later at this conference, this stuff blows that stuff out of the water. So to say 5 years from
The
now,
technology acceleration is still just happening.
to say 5 years from now, to even try to assume what could be possible with this technology, it would
So you'd underestimate it probably.
100%. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. What was the biggest, wow, I can't believe that's happening moment for you?
So there were two standouts. One, Microsoft has been working on something, I believe it's called Vasa. And essentially what you do with Vasa
Is that the VASA?
VASA, I believe. I'll make sure I put all this information in the show notes, guys. Don't
Man,
worry.
you've been interviewing your producer.
But Vasa, and it's by Microsoft. Now, Microsoft essentially has come out and say that like they're not ready to release this because the possibilities are too scary. And essentially what Vasa does is you can upload just a screenshot, a picture, and it will fully animate that. You can add a voice to it. And when I say that this, was as photoreal as you can possibly imagine, like they did videos of people lip singing songs and the neck adds texture. It adds, the vibrations that you can see. And when people are moving and straining in their voice and their throat, it has that. So that was probably one of the most.
They probably shouldn't release that till after the elections.
That's exactly what we were all saying at the
November
conference.
7th, we get that release. Wow.
Exactly. So that's one of them.
You
and
literally are saying somebody could create an AI Francis,
Yeah.
and you wouldn't be able to tell them.
I mean, I've created an AI Francis just testing stuff for you, and I have a hard time seeing the differences as well.
Wow.
Kaya, my fiance, I have shown her videos and side by side, and it's almost indistinguishable. It is scary. Now, there's always going to be that human element. So you have to train these AIs. You have to, hone them in. So, your first time you upload yourself into a HeyGen, for instance, which is a software that you can use to clone yourself on video. it's not going to be perfect. It's never going to be 100% right off the
Yeah.
bat. But with the human element, as you're able to hone that in and really kind of make these your own
Yeah.
creations, that's where it becomes indistinguishable. That's where it stands out.
And I think the big message here is it seems to me like people are still thinking about AI as futuristic.
Yes.
And to me, and maybe it's because of my dabbling in the Web3 world and just having peripherally been aware of some of this stuff through Carrie, through other contacts, it's not in the future. It's here now. And there probably are things we don't even know about
Yeah.
that are available. And the whole, as I understand it, and I just want to make sure I've got this right, truly, because I'm not sure.
Yeah.
AI really means it's continuously learning from itself, correct?
I think so. I'm not, I don't know if that's exactly the defined term, but that's how as I understand it.
Got it. So it can continue to refine and refine. I'm asking this for a really important reason because in our next segment, which is our buck segment, we're going to talk about dollars and cents for entrepreneurs. We're talking about AI and finance and bookkeeping. And a lot of what I'm going to cover is, okay, so this makes sense if this thing can keep learning from itself.
Yeah.
Then I can see how it could replace the need to have a bookkeeper, replace the need to have a financial analysis, a CFO even. So that's what I'm not sure because they have this other thing called something learning. It's extended learning, advanced learning. We're going to have to look that up and drop it in the show notes.
Yeah.
But it seems to me like there's AI and then there's this other thing that is this.
So there's AI is what I understand it to be as a large language model is, pulling from all of these resources and it's learning from all of these resources. And as long as these resources are continuing to grow and add and update, it will continue to pull from.
Got it.
But it will only pull from these, you know what I mean? So if Google is training AI on specific things, it will only pull from those things. Meta is training their own AIs on their specific things, on users, on different things along those lines. So it'll pull from different things. But what that means is that these all will have different capabilities. They'll have access to different information, so they'll be capable of
until somebody figures out how to bridge them with a massive AI.
Which, if you
Here's
got
your next Jeff Bezos.
Yeah, exactly. I was just about to say, if you got that idea and you got the software to do it, you should, because the money will be made there.
Put it in the terms of kind of crypto and DeFi and Web3. We have these layer ones like Ethereum, Solana, etc.
Yeah.
And then there are these layer twos on top of them, which are smaller ecosystems, right? But they don't talk to each other. And so now there's this whole talk of a layer three, and the layer three bringing together all the layer twos, and then potentially some layer, 20 bringing together all the layer ones.
Yeah.
The winner is that person. Like Amazon figured out how to get us books, pre-order things, get us literally anything we want to buy in the world.
And like with Amazon too, it's so interesting. Amazon, if you think about it, it's basically like a Google. You can search anything on Amazon and find out what you want to find out.
And if they don't have it, they're going to give you a buyer or a seller who's selling.
Yeah, they'll connect you with the seller.
So I think when we take over the world, Francis, it'll be building that layer that pulls all of this together.
Yeah.
So there's one user interface, and you can see across all of these platforms.
You heard it here first. That's what we got to do.
There we go. That's what we do at Cash Flow. Don't beat us to it, please.
No, don't steal our ideas.
So thank you. If there were a parting piece of advice you could give every entrepreneur out there, Francis, after having been to this conference with Perry Belcher, what would you say?
I would say that AI, look past the stigma that is AI, the words AI, because, movies, they talk about AI, TV shows, they talk about AI.
Since the 70s.
Yeah. And none of that is what AI actually is. AI is a tool. AI is not a crutch. You know what I mean? And it's not a person. Exactly. And AI in your business can help you streamline processes, can help you streamline workflows. And that doesn't mean that you lose out on the people that are doing those workflows currently. It just means that their job gets easier and they have room to grow into other roles. So that would be my biggest piece of advice is don't be afraid of AI because of the stigmas around it. Don't be afraid that it's going to come in and steal your team or steal your jobs or steal any of that. Embrace it and think about it the way that, we think about computers now, because that's what it's going to be in 10 years. That's what it's going to be in 20 years. It's going to be
or maybe 2 years.
Or in 2 years. Yeah. It's going to be the socially acceptable equivalent.
And it's interesting. And here's why I don't get scared of it. Like when we look back to the 80s or 90s,
yeah,
everything was hand typed and you had to use whiteout to correct an error, and you ran things through what do we call mimeograph machines to make copies, all sorts of things.
That's a little before my time.
Exactly. And that was, let's call it 50 years ago, 40 to 50 years ago. And so we spin up very quickly to the 90s, and all of a sudden we have the internet. And a lot of this stuff, because we can communicate more quickly, gets faster. And then it gets faster and faster. So technology is changing exponentially faster every 5 minutes. And I think what I'm kind of hearing is let's embrace this, not just as entrepreneurs, but also as employees, right? This is really cool because it gives you the opportunity to free up space and do the next thing. And we've been talking internally about opportunities that we have for you, for the company, all over the place. And I think every business owner needs to think about this. Your employees can all now have a very different kind of life that both still benefits you as an employer, but also opens them up to a whole different area of development. And it's such a cool thing to encourage and watch blossom. So, my big message to kind of pop on ears is don't be scared of it.
Yeah.
Embrace it, learn it, and know how it fits for you. And that nothing's ever going to replace the human touch. There's nothing I've enjoyed more than a one-on-one interview with a human in front of me. I think you're human. You're not AI, Francis.
I have to check. Maybe, I don't know, but
assuming. But there's nothing to replace this. It's always going to be the best thing to do.
Yeah.
But online Zooms are great. Hologram things might be cool someday. And I just really, really appreciate you going, number one, and then bringing back all of this to benefit, everybody who's listening.
Yeah. And the biggest thing, to anybody who is listening that might still have that fear, might still have that thing holding them back is, we're doing it here. We're doing it here with us.
Day.
And every day AI makes my job easier. Every day AI makes your job easier. Every day it makes our team's job overall easier. And we haven't lost that, human element. We still talk to each other on a consistent basis.
One of our values.
It's one of our main values. And it's one of the things that, really allows us to thrive. And AI is just adding to that.
I love that. And it's going to enhance our ability to serve our customers and our clients in so many ways. And I think that's really important, is to not let your mindset or fear of something unknown get in the way, because it's good for everybody. This becomes a win-win if you embrace it the right way. Let there be trial and error. One of the things I said to Francis is, we're going to try some shit that's going to fail perfectly.
Yeah.
And Lord knows we're good at that as entrepreneurs. And that's okay, right? Then you go, okay, learn that. Let's try the next thing. And this is really the perfect playground for doing that. And I'm glad you're on my team.
I'm glad to be on your team.
And I look forward to what we're going to do together as partners as well, because there's so much to take to the world with all of this. And folks, if you're not, there are tools that can be used very simply with folks who don't have an in-depth knowledge like Francis on this now. So there's still stuff you can do to make your life easier, even if you're like, I don't know what a bot is. Doesn't matter. Get yourself a Chat.GPT account and play.
The cool thing is there is no age demographic for this. You don't have to be young and you don't have to be old from the conference. There were entrepreneurs that were my age in their early mid 20s. I'm late 20s actually now.
And there were boomers.
Yeah. And there was boomers like you. There was actually more boomers than there were young people. And that was what was so cool.
That's interesting.
It's there.
Well, Perry himself is a boomer. I think he's my age or just shy of it.
He looks, I think you guys look pretty similar age-wise. Yeah.
Very
But
cool.
Don't be afraid. Just jump in. Don't let any of this hold you back, and just mess with it, because that's all it takes is just messing around. And it might be your cup of tea, it may not. You don't have to use it, but if you do use it, it can streamline so much for you, and it can make your life so easy.
I thank you so much. And my big message there is embrace it, knowing that there's abundance. Don't be threatened by it. It's not going to take away your revenue stream. It's going to help you enhance what you provide in exchange for that revenue stream.
Exactly. Yeah.
So great. Francis, thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
You.
It was awesome to be on the podcast.
Welcome to Buck's Tale. We're going to continue to speak about AI, and we're going to get very specific and talk about it in terms of finance, accounting, bookkeeping, but for the entrepreneur. So what I've done is broken down what's happening in accounts receivable. There's a finance person for you. What's happening in AI as it relates to the finance world. And a lot of this research actually was done by my producer. So I want to thank him very much for kind of bringing this to the forefront. But it's been on my list to investigate because we're in a very interesting business. Like a large part of what you need as an entrepreneur is somebody to just handle transactional stuff for you. Get the things booked, get it to my tax accountant, make sure I don't go to jail. As a number of my clients will say, hey, your job is to keep me out of jail, Pam. And so there's this very transactional part of bookkeeping that we're going to talk about. But then there's this sort of EQ part of bookkeeping and CFO work and finance work for entrepreneurs that I wanted to say originally, hey, this doesn't make sense. Parts of this can never be AI. But I thought a lot harder about it. And I see AI as something that can really enhance what we do as a finance industry for entrepreneurs and also really help bring down the cost to entrepreneurs of what's needed to spend in order to take a business that you've built and create a thing of value. So my most recent book is called Founder to Exit, and it's talking about the processes you need to sort of go through from once you realize you have a successful business to selling it. So that in the process of getting there, you make sure that you extract from it all of the value that you can, both in time and energy and in money. And given that, I was all of a sudden thinking, well, that's special sauce. Only a CFO could do that. And it's what I do, so no AI bot could do that. But I've spent some time thinking about it, and I believe that I'm wrong. So what I want to give you entrepreneurs right now is thoughts about what's already there and where it could progress that will save you a lot of money and really up the value you're getting from your numbers. Now, this doesn't hit all the mindset stuff that, you need to look at your numbers for the first time, but it does hit the more technical stuff. So we're going to talk about the pros of finance AI today. And our podcast next week, we're going to talk about some of the cons of finance AI and things to watch out for. The one that I love it that Francis brought to my attention was Intuit's new AI, which is called Intuit Assist. Now, the interesting thing about this is it's half human, half AI. And what they recognized is there's a limit at which an early AI solution can help an entrepreneur. But think about it this way. You as an entrepreneur decide, hey, I've got to get bookkeeping in place because I've had a successful business. I have no idea where my money's going. It is entirely possible now as a pro on the side of AI that you could literally give an AI assistant your bank account information and they could generate the right chart of accounts, the right reports for you, the right history for you to look at to tell you the story of your business. And this is a big thing for me. Numbers should not be numbers on a piece of paper. They should tell the story of your business. And it's very conceivable to me that even today exists the technology to feed some data in and a system could generate this. So one of the things I'll say is Intuit Assist is kind of talking this as AI. I don't know if it's truly AI. I think what it is workflow automation, and it's already in place, and it's a big deal. It can really help you. It could be used today. But where AI starts to really get helpful to me is a lot of people that I talk to want to just have their VA do the bookkeeping or their EA do the bookkeeping, not a bookkeeper, not an accountant, but just, hey, I have somebody in house that has extra time. I want them to do bookkeeping. Well, Intuit Assist can really help there because it could literally walk your VA through every single step that needs to be taken in your particular business based on your data that has to be done so that your books are in great order, so that that there's no fraud, that all the controls are in place, that when you're looking at the P&L, it's really reflecting what's happening, that when you're looking at cash flow, it makes sense. This is something that now is available out there with Intuit Assist. In fact, I believe QuickBooks is selling this as a solution. You buy Intuit Assist, you get a little chat robot right by your QuickBooks that your VA can ask all these questions to. And the minute it gets to a question that your VA can't answer, it auto dials a human. And the human is a trained QuickBooks bookkeeper with 20 years experience, and boom, they can help you solve whatever problem. And in the process of that, the bot or the AI that was helping you learns this new thing. it gets incorporated into the AI, and the next time we don't have to call the human. So for a much lower price, you can be guaranteed, maybe guaranteed is not the right word, but you can increase the probability that you're going to have really good, accurate books. For me as a CFO coming in to clean things up a lot, it's always been an issue for me when somebody has said, hey, my VA books for years, they're fine. And VAs, quite honestly, EAs, whatever you call them, don't know bookkeeping. And there is a science and there is an art, but the science is very important to bookkeeping. And the reason it's very important is it makes sure that we know what's happening to your cash. That's really the bottom line. And so the bot, the AI bot, can replicate this science very quickly. The next big plus I see is that it can start to understand how you talk about your business. One of the things we brag about as priorities when we get a new client is we run alongside that client and we get their momentum. And once I know their momentum and their language and what's important to them and which obstacles might get in their way and which opportunities they might be missing, that's when we add our special sauce. Well, it's entirely possible now that an AI type bot could spend enough time with you in enough meetings with you to understand the subtleties of your industry, your particular state that you're in, your particular tax situation, your particular employee situation, that you could start to get some really good suggestions from a finance CFO, AI CFO, who could say, hey, I've put together all this. I've been sitting in on all your meetings. I put together all this information, and here's what I think. And actually get a strategic answer. Now, are we there yet? No. Okay. I have a bot called Sana.ai or Sana.io. I can't remember which it is. And I've built a cow named Carson who comes to all my meetings now. And he sits in there and he takes notes and goes away. So conceivably, I have Carson come in, take all the notes from my meetings that I have internally and externally with my clients, and that's creating a database. I could point into an assist at that database, and it could now know some of the subtleties of my own business and start to give me questions. And here's the third plus, or the third pro. It can start to learn how to tell me what questions I should be asking. Okay? Because often as an entrepreneur, we don't even know what questions we should ask. I'm coming in as a CFO and saying, hey, we really need to understand A, B, C, and D. And you might not even have known to answer those questions. Well, given all of the vast resources that an AI bot could have access to, they could know about your industry, about your location and geography, about your communication patterns, about your employees, about your pay scale, about your vendors, whether you have everything coming from one single source, those sorts of things. And really start to say to you, hey, here are the questions you should be asking about your business. Then it becomes something so much more than just numbers and finances. It takes that story of your business, combines it with everything the internet knows about your type of business and where you live and you and your employees, and creates almost a personalized plan for you. Now, we're a few years away from this, but what I'd say to you is, historically, for somebody to serve you as a bookkeeper and still scale their business, they had to pretty much say, hey, here's how we do things. Here's your standard set of accounts. Here's your standard processes. You do all this stuff and boom, we'll spit out our numbers for you. And anybody who's asked an AI bot a question without really working with it for very long knows that you can get some standard stupid answers if you haven't really fed enough information into it. But now we're going to actually have the opportunity to put that extra layer on, which is, how does all this stuff work for you in particular? Now, I don't want it to steal my job. I don't plan on it stealing my job. I still think human touch is absolutely critical. But I do know that I can put it on a couple of phone calls and have it split out and align it with my blueprint and Profit Concierge for entrepreneurs, and have it spit out the blueprint and the timeline and the resources needed for that particular entrepreneur. And then we could hand it to them and let them implement, or we could say, hey, you want us to implement this for you? So the way to think about AI in your business, and if you're not in accounting and finance, that's fine. Whatever business you're in, it's coming, people. I've had this conversation with you before. If you are in accounting and finance, think about how you can leverage it. Right now, if you incorporate this into your business, you will be ahead of 99% of the world out there, because either they're afraid of it, they don't know enough about it, or they don't have the time to explore it. And I would say to you, if any client or prospect says to you, well, can I just get this with AI? That you say, yeah, you probably can. Let's go figure out how to do that together and embrace it. So it's coming. Those are the pros. Now, I do intend to talk next week about the cons, because there is a whole list of cons to me and warnings I want to give you as an entrepreneur before you jump in and just kind of do everything that the Intuit Assist person says. But for now, that's a lot of good news about AI. And I hope every bookkeeper and CFO out there is embracing it. But mostly as a business owner, I hope you're.
I hope that video was helpful, and I hope you subscribe to my channel for more information on finances in your business.